is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Sysco. Sysco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NC F&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, it's your favorite Yelp elite. It's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today on the show, we have a woman who is perhaps the strongest chef that has ever walked into this studio. I would say that's probably a fact. And on top of that, I feel an inferiority complex coming on because she also has the strongest sneaker game, definitely in the room, maybe among chefs in this great state of North Carolina. She is the chef and owner of the Root Cellar Cafe and Cafe Root Cellar out there in Chapel Hill in Pittsboro. One chef, Sera Cuni.
Hey guys, how are you?
We are great. Hold on, we're getting a camera shot of these sneaks right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, check them.
Tell me, sugar, tell me how you get so fly.
Oh my God.
I won't sing anymore, I promise.
All right, well, let's see. Now, I only spent an hour getting those cameras ready and then moved them the second that we walked in.
For those of you that don't know or that like to watch podcasts, we
you
are on
voyeurs out there?
YouTube, and Max has been working his butt off.
Oh, gee, thanks, Matt.
Well, that's why you don't have any.
Yeah.
To get us up on YouTube and make this look really good. Somehow make me look good, which is just a tough thing.
Let's talk about those powerful glute muscles right now. Since we're talking about, I do suffer from Nawasatol, and I don't know if there is an actual cure, but I bet benching and deadlifting crazy weight would help out. Do you know anything about that, Jen?
Yeah, maybe you should squat more.
Squatting, yeah. I'm
Or
always
you could do a
squat.
Brazilian butt class. They used to have those. I don't know if they still do.
I don't know if they do either.
Yeah.
That would be the country to do it.
That's a great place to start because you're often competing, and I think it bothers me as a male that they call it the strongest man competition.
Yep, but there's women who do it too.
Right.
Yeah.
So shouldn't it be the strongest human competition? You're not going to fight that.
No,
But
I'm not gonna fight it.
But is it separated for gender? Like, is that?
Yeah.
I mean, because I know
But
that's the
then
whole
it's still
thing.
called the
Strongman competitions.
competitions,
They don't
but-
call it the strong person
woman
any.
or strong
yeah.
person competition.
Oh
Strong
boy.
human.
What does those consist of, and how'd you get into that?
I originally used to do CrossFit, and then a good friend of mine, Kristen, started doing it, and I was like, all right, let's do this. I mean, it revolves around kitchens. You're picking up heavy bags of flour and stuff like that. So I was like, it made a lot of sense. I don't like to run.
Yeah.
So I got into that, did some competitions. I have been out on a shoulder injury for 2.5 years now.
That's my excuse too.
Yeah. Nobody judges you when you say you're out.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah.
sorry, that old war injury keeps me from working out every single day of my life.
That mandolin cut.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Or the slicing cheese with a knife cut.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cutting the avocado.
I have sadly injured myself way too often in the kitchen.
Yep.
It's a good idea for me to not be there.
Yeah.
But okay. So yeah, how much you bench?
So I haven't benched since the shoulder surgery. So it's been 2.5 years. I don't even know what I could do now.
But you're still doing the
But
competition.
what were you
so, like,
doing?
you're pulling cars and pulling airplanes and
Yeah.
shit like that.
My next competition is going to be in March, hopefully,
Yeah.
in New Bern.
All right. You got some prep time.
Yeah, so it'll be the first time back since 2020?
Oh,
2021?
okay.
2021. I just kind of am getting into it this week and next week.
Will there be squats involved?
Well, we don't really squat much in strongman, which is strange.
Okay.
It's more picking up like giant balls of concrete and
Yeah.
carrying,
that's the stuff
putting
you do.
kegs over things like you do every day in a bar.
It sounds like more like Scottish games. Like,
Yeah,
like
Highland
So I
games.
did that in December.
Oh, you did?
I did a Highland game for down in Fayetteville for a Holiday Highlander, which raises money for dogs for veterans.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
for veteran dogs.
You know, the dogs, for a veteran.
Dogs that have been in
like
the
a
army?
veteran
Yeah.
that needs a service dog.
A service dog. Yeah, got you. By the way, Sam Heughan of Outlander fame.
Oh,
He's like, every middle-aged woman, well, almost every middle-aged woman's dream. But he's a Scottish guy. He's the main dude. He's Jamie Fraser. He also has a
whiskey.
Sassenach whiskey, which
Yeah.
is like a nod to what he calls his lady. Sassenach, I guess, is like Gaelic for outsider or outlander. No, outsider, because she's not from there, so that he calls her that. Like she's like the alien or whatever. She's a time traveler, folks. That's the whole thing. She travels back 200 years and falls in love. It's a love story, but it also is pretty close to history. The reason why I even bring it up, and the reason why I bring it up on North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, is eventually they make their way to North Carolina and they set up at Fraser's Ridge, which is just outside of the Highlands in North Carolina, like Asheville area. And I've been trying, but not succeeding, to get Mr. Sam Heughan, who's a beautiful, beautiful man, to be on the podcast to talk about his whiskey. So if anyone out there knows a connection, let's get him on.
Now that we have, you don't know this, but I guess we'll talk about it. We're doing a video with Jess Sims, so we're in the celebrity space now.
Right.
Peloton,
Peloton and ESPN Game
ESPN
Days.
Game.
You guys will need kilts to make it more,
Well, that's
Do
what
we have to shave our legs?
That's what he did. That's
Okay.
Sam Heughan and Graham. I should know all the guys' names. I don't know. I don't work for them. Whatever. The other guy, he plays Dougal McKenzie from Outlander. They have a show called Men in Kilts, and they were at a strongman competition and like seeing things, and that's what made me think of it, because it's like they just pick up a boulder and they put it up on another like taller place, and it's like, if you can do that. If
You're a strong person, a strong man.
You're not a wee bairn.
I mean, you got bored out there in the whatever those things are called, bogs or whatever, with your sheep.
Yeah.
You had to think of something to
Something
do, right?
to do. But I thought it was also, like throwing a rock at somebody's head and trying to hit them, like Hamish and Braveheart.
It's the same as, dude, here, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And then do something stupid.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
thing back then.
Yeah.
All right,
well,
we're being silly, but
yeah, as long as
Sera-
we're here,
yeah.
You have a business and really well branded with Root Cellar. And I want to pause for just a quick word from our sponsor, our title sponsor, Cisco.
Yeah, that's right. So Cisco, while we can always talk all day about cooking up the most delicious barbecue, artisanal pizza, or craft cocktails, it's the business and the branding side of things that often determines the success in this industry.
That's why Cisco, the global leader in food service, is the best resource to keep your brand strong. Cisco knows that great ingredients are only one part of your recipe for success. By understanding your unique needs, they can offer you powerful solutions to run every aspect of your business.
How? Well, Cisco has a team of experts that go into in-depth consultations covering everything from profit and loss statements to keeping your menu on trend. Whether you're looking for training materials or food cost advantages or service ideas, Cisco has the expertise to fit your needs.
Visit Sysco.com, that's SYSCO.com, to learn more about all the ways Cisco can boost your restaurant's business.
Cisco, at the heart of food and service.
This isn't a plug, but I think this would be a really cool idea. And then we'll move on to like the actual food part of this. Let's have your local Cisco rep compete with you in your next strongman competition.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll challenge them mano a mano, hand to hand. And yeah, you're like, I want the best deal in town. Throw this boulder farther than me.
Yeah.
Throw this frozen turkey breast.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
Or your biggest bag of flour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay. You know what? And since we're taking a break and we're just kind of getting into it, we might as well drink a little coffee right now.
Oh, yeah. This coffee is absolutely delicious.
Yeah. Our friend Lane is busy selling coffee right now. Normally she'd be with us in studio, but sometimes you just got to move those beans, and that's what she's doing. So that's okay, because she did send us some Sosa Familia El Aguacate coffee that we are drinking right now. Finca El Aguacate. This one is from Tomas Sosa. At his passing in 2017, they were proud to continue the relationship with the Sosa family, led by his son, Giovanni. Giovanni, as a third-generation producer, is continuing the farming tradition in the Comayagua region of Honduras that has led to the award-winning coffee with these floral orange aromas, little subtle apricot acidity. and that wonderful lingering caramel sweetness. What do you think, Matt?
I say this every week, but I don't know, maybe it's just like my palate's becoming accustomed, but now I'm really, because we taste Carrboro coffee all the time,
Yeah.
you really get the nuances and the deliciousness, but I swear their complexity and the balance of their flavors is like no other.
This takes me to, like, as a child, back to my mom's favorite dessert, and I don't think we have C's candies out here, but C's candies is a big deal on the West Coast. The chocolate flavored orange bars,
yeah.
kind of like an orange jelly inside. That's what this reminds me of. It's like, oh, it's so delicious. What do you think, Chef? You a big coffee drinker yourself?
I can't get out of bed without a cup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well-
it's delicious. Well, to learn more about Carrboro Coffee and where you can get it, you can go to CarrboroCoffee.com or go to shopCarrboroCoffee.com to just go straight to it. Put your credit card in, folks. Buy it. I think the best way, personally, is to just sign up for their monthly recurring shopping package. You can kind of bundle up what you like, and then you don't have to think about it. It just shows up at your doorstep. You get Carrboro coffee whenever you like. So,
There you go.
all right.
All right. So let's get down it. So speaking about, working for people and learning business, you started the original Root Cellar in 2013.
Yep.
And you had you'd purchased the business from Sera Foster.
I did, and I started with Sera in 2006.
Yeah. And before that, you had been a chef at the Farrington House, right?
was.
Were you running the place there?
I was at the granary, I was at the market, which is now the granary, which it might be back to the market.
Granary, market.
Granary.
Yeah, who cares?
I was there.
I mean, we care, but
Yeah, we care.
I was there. I came in as sous chef. The chef went to the house. I took over as the market. And then I went over, after 3-4 years, I went over to the house.
okay.
And then I left to go to Foster's Market.
And you moved down from Connecticut.
Yep.
And you moved down because you had family. Your family had moved down here?
Yep. My mother and father had moved here in like 99.
Okay.
So
But-
I moved down in 2001.
Okay.
Well, and don't sleep on Farrington House in itself is like
It's an institution.
It's an institution. It's a beautiful property. It's kind of the crown jewel of Pittsboro, Carrboro. Like, I guess Pittsboro, right? Is that's
Yeah.
where it is? And
But it's not far from Chapel Hill,
Nope.
so yeah.
And everybody knows those cows.
And everyone knows there's
Yeah,
cows,
I have-
because there's a dairy.
a
And,
million pictures of my daughters feeding the goats and all
Yeah.
that. It's amazing. They do like farm to fork there at times, and they've done a lot of cool food festivals. And
yeah, the
amazing
reason
chefs.
you didn't come to Bubbles and Brisket this year,
Yeah,
you were
I was at Farm
you were
to
doing
Fork.
farm to fork.
Yeah, we got to coordinate our schedules, food people.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they do some. Speaking of celebrities, remember we did the Carla Hall episode when she was releasing her book at the. Can't remember the bookstore, but they have a bookstore on
McIntyre's, yep.
McIntyre's
Yeah.
on campus there, whatever.
No
you
one
call it.
saw that I sent you pictures later, but we had a hotel room there, and after everybody left, I did a boudoir shoot. Just me by myself. I just.
Took out the old selfie stick.
Yep.
Do you
like,
remember that? I sent
I
you a
do
couple
remember
pictures,
that, yeah.
but
Did you
like
get in the
I tried-
bath too? And
I
like-
did.
Yes.
I got in the bath. You know
Roved
what?
around.
I'm gonna find those pictures. We're gonna put them up right now.
Never know. Farrington might want to use those for an ad.
Yeah,
true.
They were pretty awesome. I'm just like in this amazingly beautiful room, and I'm like all by myself, and I just thought, what a waste to just have this room for the afternoon. And I was like, wasn't going to stay there the night, and I thought, oh, this is beautiful. And so I fully clothed jumped into like the bed or into the tub or whatever, and just took stupid selfies with me, and I sent them to you, and that was that. Yeah, we'll put a poll up there. We'll see what people think. Anyways, let's smash cut to right now. You are like the master of Pittsboro. We never get into Pittsboro. We never talk about Pittsboro, but there's a lot of cool things that happen out there.
There's a lot of great things out there. We got some great restaurants.
Yeah, not never. I mean, our friend
You've
Bill
done
Hartley.
Bill. Yeah.
But it's been so long.
It's been long.
Yeah.
Well, and then you had us MC the event in right when we got back from High Hampton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Local on Lorax.
Local on Lorax. That's
right.
right. Yeah. But yeah, you are kind of like you're the master of Pittsboro over
I
there.
would like to say that sometimes. Depends on which side I'm on.
What's going on in there? Because I know you on a weekly basis. Like I'm texting you, hey Sarah, you need some wine? What's going on? And it's you sell some wine, but you sell what is like people that don't know Root Cellar? What are you known for?
So the one in Pittsboro, my menu changes weekly. I figure out the menu usually by tonight or, Wednesday night. I hit the farmers markets, Pittsboro Farmers Market. I usually order from Carrboro Market. And I change it seasonally. So this week you might find something, and then next week it's something totally different.
Yeah, and it's a super casual spot, right?
Yep,
like
super
you come
casual.
in and it's kind of quick service casual, right? Like there's a lot of prepared stuff, or it's
Not anymore.
not anymore.
So
Okay. No pre-prep.
No, not in Pittsboro at all. Everything is made to order. You're still order at the register. We deliver the food. Like everything is made on spot.
But you have like soups or chilies and
In Chapel Hill, I do.
Chapel Hill.
Pittsboro,
okay.
I literally flipped it all and changed it after COVID. Because I realized
'Cause
that
you're just going through wasting product.
wasting product, realizing what people wanted. The menu's super small. Maybe it's got 10 items.
What do people want?
Well, during COVID, I did pop-ups every weekend of different countries.
Okay.
Just because, we were all stuck in our houses. Pittsburgh, doesn't have much.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to just do this. It'll be fun for me to get in touch with all the different cuisines I learned in culinary school. So it started off that way. And then as time went on, I ran out of countries. And I was like, well,
Ran out of countries.
there's some
Andorra
countries.
again?
Yeah, right? So then I just started just mashing everything together. And as, we came out of COVID, I was like, well, are you going to go back to what you were? Are you going to stay this? And I was like, no, this is us now. I love this thing. And so now everybody knows that every week Pittsboro is a different restaurant.
Okay.
So,
That's fucking special.
yeah. So,
It is.
Yeah,
Fucking
just
special.
so, I watch TV and I'm like, oh, they did this. And I was like, oh, I'm going to try to do that. And I'm like, or this week I really want penne alla vodka. So I'm going to make it because that's
Right.
what I want to try today. So it's just kind of fun. I have 2 line cooks. They're 17 and 18
Wow.
girls. Yeah, they're rocking it.
Okay.
I go, what do you guys want to do? And last week, one of them was like, can we make an Italian pizza? And I was like, what do you mean by that? And they're like, with fresh mozzarella and tomatoes. I was like, yeah, dude, totally. So we got tomatoes from the farmer's market. We have basil outside. And it was one of our top sellers. I mean, this is a 17-year-old, though.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I'm teaching them stuff and stuff like that.
So it truly is like a chef-driven restaurant, but you are, I mean, it's really almost like you're cooking at your house. I mean,
Yeah.
you're cooking with the season, but also where your head is and what your vibe is. That's pretty cool. I mean, and you're almost your jazz.
Yeah.
Your little jazz studio.
Might be a little acid jazz because it's all over the place, but
Yeah, a little
you know.
salt, acid, fat jazz. Yeah.
But also, how does that work when because you have been known to do a lot of cooking competitions as well.
yeah.
Like you've been on Supermarket Swap and
Yeah.
Guy's Grocery and
It,
what? Gee's Grocery? Is that
No, his grocery games, guys.
Guy's Grocery Games. Yeah. And you actually won.
I won supermarket.
You won supermarket.
Stakeout.
Stakeout.
Yep,
Yeah.
with Alex.
That's right. I saw that. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
So what happened? Okay, first tell us what happens at the restaurant when you're gone on these competitions.
So
And then let's get into this.
The good thing about any of those Food Network things is they are smart enough to know that chefs can't be there on the weekend. So they usually film Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays. So I'm closed those days.
That's good.
But the sad part about it is if I do something like any of these events, we have to close.
Ah.
So I have to make the decision, do I do this or do I stay open this week?
Yeah.
Doesn't the community get pissed at you? Like the ones that rely on you? I mean, I know some of them, you're pissed at them. You're like, well, you should show up every day
Yeah.
to make it worth my while. But
I think they like the fact knowing I'm putting out there Chatham County. So they're like, well, chef's not here, but she's doing something and it's going to make Chatham County better or something like that.
Yeah,
So I
it's
think they
definitely the
just-
way somebody walks over that's hungry and they go to the door and they're like, and then they read the sign, we're close today.
pizza.
Yeah.
Thank
from
God
last
Chatham
week."
County's being represented right now. I'm so hungry, but okay.
But
Yeah.
I think people have gotten used to restaurants closing for things now.
Yeah,
It's okay to close.
it is. Someone actually
okay.
told me, remember, as much as the restaurant is for the community, it's still your restaurant.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you got to do things for you. And whether it's just, I need a me day or it's, I want to do something promotional for the business or shit that you don't need to know about because it's my life, and it's my business. Like, hey, have you ever just at your desk job called in because you couldn't be there and did like 6,300 people on your Instagram account say, "Where the hell are you?"
Yeah,
like
no.
that doesn't happen. So it's a little different because we're in the public viewpoint and like neighborhood, but I like the idea of just running a restaurant to be more like it's focused on you. This actually leads me to this conversation that you and I had just what, maybe 10 days ago?
Yeah, not long ago.
2 weeks ago, whatever. You and I were both judges for Bites and Pints. It was a fun little event hosted at the same venue that Cooking for the Kids, of which we recently covered, where Chef Kyle Tiers won that whole thing, which was really cool. Got himself a nice Triumph motorcycle because of it.
Nice.
And he
now driving it to the Willard every day. I saw him over there at the rooftop.
Right.
Very happy.
Yeah. By the way, before no rumors get out there, I just told Kyle and I love each other, and he was my chef at Crafton, but I said, I don't know if I can afford having an executive chef at this point. You're not being let go. But if someone asks you to go work for them, you should probably take that job. And 8 days later, he had a gig, and I love him for that. And I was like, cool, and he's awesome. So he's there, and we love him there, and that's part of the old Summit Hospitality that I used to work with and know those guys well. So we'll delve into that at some point and get into it. It is great that Kyle, ironically, bought a motorcycle with the winnings that he earned, whereas all the previous chefs that used to be cooking for a classic where they would win a classic car, and the second that they got the car, they
sell the car to pay the taxes
for cash. And so, like, Chef Dean that runs the whole thing is like, I can't win. Like, I don't know, what people want. But anyhow, getting back to the conversation. So, you, Sera, and I, and Maggie Kane of A Place at the Table were all judges. We got to try maybe 18 different courses. I mean, it was a lot.
It's a lot.
Maybe 14, 15, whatever it was. It was a lot. And I kind of forgot that it was Bites and Pints, which
So
meant we were trying food, but also the pairing with that food, and there were 14 of them.
Yep.
You know, and so
But
by
they
the
weren't
end
a pint with each one.
no, it was
like a 2-ounce pour. Or
Okay.
something like that.
yeah, but you could also go back.
Yeah.
And we did. And so at some point, it was just like me and Sarah were just post up in the corner. It turned into like this really like weird, like uncomfortable like prom or a
We
dance.
needed you for the dancing, we said.
We kept saying, we're like, if there was dancing, Matt would
Yep.
be doing his like b-boy dance moves right now as we speak. But we were kind of just bullshitting, and the nature of part of the conversation, which we can't really get into all of the things we discussed because it would not be appropriate.
Please, those are the ones we want to hear.
You can
Come on,
only
lean into
imagine.
that.
Well, I did say
This will
that
be after hours.
Yeah.
I'll give you one nugget, which is
Who
so
cares
stupid.
about the clean stuff? Let's get into the juicy
All
details.
right, the one thing that I did say I will reveal is, I don't get hit on by gay men, and I'm like, I'm not a gay man, but what the heck? And,
I'm working on it for him, though, so
It's a
don't worry.
new segment.
Yeah.
Why Max doesn't get hit on by gay men?
Yeah, I was like, is it just like, am I
your shoe game.
Am I super butch, bro? Like, and I was like, it's not like I'm wanting. No offense, whatever. Everybody do whatever, do you? But I want at least someone to want to do me. That might be no, but that was just the joke. I was like, yeah, never happens, and so we were just being silly about that. But anyhow, the actual thing I was mentioning was that when you are not at your place doesn't necessarily, it doesn't run kind of because of what we just discussed.
Yeah.
Like, it is a chef-driven restaurant. You are the chef and you are the lifeblood of the business. And you know, in a way, for better or for worse, you have painted yourself into that corner. The beauty of it, the nice part of it is like, okay, all this food is being made fresh daily with some artistry, and it's just yeah, I mean, it's better than, say, like having the sandwich artist at Subway make me my roast beef sandwich every day. It's like, no, this is a chef that cares and sourced properly. And so that roast beef sandwich, let's say, is going to be the best sandwich you're going to have in a very long time. But when you want to take a break, you either have to close shop or minimize the hours of what you're going to do. And you're going to suffer for that financially because of doing those things. But I don't know, care to like kind of elaborate into why you did it that way and how it works? And also because we kind of said at the top, you do have 2 locations.
I
So
do.
the other one doesn't run like that. So
Nope, the other one runs. I have great
Why?
staff. I have great staff. It's established. You know, I mean, it was Foster's in 1998. turned into root cellar. It's still the same thing. So it pretty much runs on its own.
Yeah.
So really, I don't have I don't do a lot there, but I go over there. I order wine, I order candy, I order all those things. I check in with everybody like that. But the staff there is great. You know, they've been there. They care.
Yeah.
Pittsboro.
And also, you have a different menu. You're not doing a menu each week. Yeah.
You know, it's been the same for so long. So it's no big deal, like, if I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
But Pittsboro, you know, it's me. Like, I am the chef. Like, if I'm not there, there's nobody there. You know, like, I have the 2 girls that are great. But if I want to take a day off, or, you know, Susan and I want to go on vacation, we either plan it so it's one of the times we're closed, or we go during the week, or we just have to say, hey, we're not going to be open this weekend. You know, see you guys next weekend. Or, you know, we give people enough notice.
Yeah.
So
I have to ask, though, as a business person, like, I'm always, like, everything that I'm trying to do, I want to put a set it and forget it so that I can still, like, go on and do the next thing and do more. So, like, why wouldn't you just recreate what you did in Chapel Hill so that you could still, like, satisfy your creative urges by having specials and doing a special menu or whatever when you're there. But I get the staffing part of it. So maybe it kind of, like you said, force you into
obviously
that.
staffing is huge. You know, like, Pittsboro's so small, we don't have a lot of, like, people looking for those jobs. You know, we have people who move to Pittsboro and then they go to Chapel Hill and work at the hospital, work at the university, or they go into Durham or something like that. But there's not enough housing and affordable housing in Pittsboro yet. So there's not those people looking for a line cook job or things like that. So, you know, it just kind of works.
Yeah.
I mean, I love it. Don't get me not, you know, like, I love
Is it
working
a
on the
little
line.
like economic too? I mean, if you hired someone that could say do all those things, you probably need to pay them to do those things.
Yeah.
So, like, you are a chef, but like, yes, that's the term chef. But what you're also doing is you're, like, literally cooking food. Like,
Yeah,
you're
I'm
a
literally
cook.
the line cook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you're doing the job. It is a job. Is there any fear that strikes the back of your neck that, like, if you had someone doing those roles, then what is your self-worth at that point?
I think I always think that. I think as a chef, like, you're like, do I give up my restaurant to another chef? And then is it really me?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's all those other things that you want to do on the side. Like, you know, your guys' barbecue, the brisket and bubbles, and, like, chow chow and all those things. So you're like, do I weigh myself and do those things and have this chef do the root cellar? Or do I do this and then just take the time off? I mean, you know, like, I know it's going to have to happen. Like, things are getting busier.
But I also think, like, real speak, because Max and I are kind of coming up against this now as, like, more projects are being put in front of us and the chance to do this. And also, like, I like to travel. Max likes to travel. And there's no reason we can't have both. Like, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, right? Like you could, like, we could have a guest host, and we've had guest hosts who are experts and it works. And then, like, I don't know, I feel like, but I can still come back and be me, you know, and
make the plan, work the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if
It's
you
just
do
got to
it,
be,
but-
you know, like this. I just
But
got to
you also gotta
figure
find
it
the right
out. Yeah, I got to
person.
find the right person that's going to have my food ethics. Like, you know, like, I'm a seasonal, I'm a fresh, I'm a thing. You know, like, I don't want somebody to come in and be like, well, I'm going to make this jelly and smoke this in the pot and then put it on the plate. And, you know, like, that's not me. Like, that's not my ethics of food. So
Yeah.
it's a little struggle kind of thing. Like, you know, just trying to figure out what. At this point in time, I still like doing it.
But you do see, like, I always talk to you. You are always, like, in my perspective, a glass half full person.
Yep.
Like, always seem happy. Like, you don't let it drag you down too much.
No.
And that's not very chefy.
No, you know, it's not like, you know, I'm not the one that screams and yells.
Yeah.
I'm always happy. I'm always excited for service. I hate Sunday brunch, but I'm there every Sunday doing it. You know, like, I love
Teach
what
me
I
your
do.
way.
Yeah.
Ways?
What's the secret?
I don't know.
Is
Maybe
it
there's
medication? Is it good?
Maybe there's something missing in this, like, brain of mine that.
Or maybe something added. I'd say
Maybe.
more.
I don't
Like,
know.
there's just a gene for success and
I'm not
happiness.
always drinking coffee.
Well, let's get a little deeper into you. how did you grow up? What was was it a product of your environment? Did you have great parents and a great endorsing, like Matt hears every weekend. I think he gets a text from his mom every morning saying that he's the greatest.
Wow.
So
twice a day, also
Twice
at
a
lunch.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
She
they
gives
have
you gold
many
stars.
kids, so she's texting all along. He's just got to hit this kid, then this kid. It's it's a lot of positive affirmation. My mom, however, who lives on the West Coast, calls me at 11 o'clock at night, and then I go, "Mom, I'm just getting into bed." She's like, "Oh, well, sorry." I go, "Oh, it's my fault that you decided to call me at 11 o'clock at night."
Well,
She's like, "Well,
Just having known you, it kind of is, because then knowing you're probably like, yeah, well, all right, and then you'll have a 3-hour conversation. So she's like, oh,
I'm learning boundaries, Matt."
Okay.
Yeah, and especially with mom. I'm like, Mom, you got to just call me back at another time. She's like, well, she's like, I called you yesterday. I go, at 11:30. She's like, what? I go, you called me later yesterday.
Yeah.
And I didn't answer because guess what? I was asleep.
Yeah.
And so you
There's
called me a half an hour early. It's not there, but
There's time zones. I don't know if you know that.
yeah. And I'm not
Separate sides of the
21 any longer where I do stay up until 4 a.m. It's no, trying to live a normal life, Anyhow, what was your growing up?
I grew up in Italian Czech family, so you always had food at the table. There was always, hey, have you eaten? Grandma always cooked everything. We went to her house, and there was always spaghetti and food everywhere.
Yeah.
Siblings?
I have a brother.
Older or younger?
Younger.
Okay.
My parents were always supportive. I knew at an early age I wanted to be a chef. They always took us to restaurants. We never ate off of kid menus. So if we went to a restaurant, we ate.
Yeah.
I sat at the table. If I didn't like something, I sat there till I ate it.
How old were you when you first had sweetbreads?
Whew, I don't know. I wasn't that young. I was actually a really picky eater
Okay.
when I was a kid.
Okay.
Literally, I was stuck at the table, pushing lima beans around. And
I'll reveal a little bit about myself. I've been known to throw many tantrums because all I would eat as a kid
What?
I would eat cheeseburgers, and if they didn't have a cheeseburger on the menu, I would throw a huge fit, and I did not care if people saw or I embarrassed my parents. I think there was one time where my parents will have to recap this. By the way, happy birthday to my dad who just turned 80 yesterday as we're recording this.
Happy
So
birthday,
I'm going
Dad.
up this
Happy
weekend
birthday,
to
Ed.
celebrate with him. I once stood up on a table and sang repeatedly, "I'm just storming Norman." Because I was so hungry. I don't know exactly how that relates, but I was probably
Is that a
6 or
song?
7. Yeah.
Or
I'm
were you just-
storming Norman? I don't know.
Yeah.
I totally wouldn't sing again. So anyway, sorry.
That was an immersive experience for his family.
And now it's all coming back.
yep. Dinner and a show.
yeah.
Dinner,
Yeah.
show. Yeah.
But so fairly I don't know,
functional.
functional, good family.
Positive.
Yep, good family. I played soccer. They were at all our games, things like that. We went on trips. If we went on a vacation, we would eat places. I had dim sum at an early age. We lived in San Francisco, so it wasn't
You lived in San Francisco?
Mm-hmm.
What were you guys doing there?
I don't know. I was a little kid.
What, was it because of your parents' job?
My dad's job.
What did he do?
He worked, I think at that point, maybe IBM.
Okay. Is that why they eventually moved out here?
No, he worked for another company that moved him down here.
Okay.
But we moved around a lot. So
But
there's always new
IBM's
things.
headquarters were in San Jose, which is where I was
Yeah.
from, and I worked at a restaurant right across the street from their headquarters. So I wonder if that's where your dad was
Called
working.
Santa Barbara Grill.
Santa Barbara Grill, which made no sense. That's not kidding. It was called Santa Barbara Grill in San
San
Jose.
Jose.
And when we asked the question to the
exotic.
owners, we were like, why is it called Santa Barbara Grill? And they went, because it gives this essence and feel of Santa Barbara. And we're like,
The beach.
but we're in Silicon Valley. It's the most technically advanced area, and we're calling it this. They're like, whatever. We had 33 investors.
You want
we
to
had
go
come up with
someplace
a name.
different. I mean, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
Well-
It was a banger restaurant though. It was high end, and they schooled me. I just said this to Jared the other day. We were talking about restaurants, and I said I think my first restaurant job was my hardest restaurant job that I've ever worked. The expectations for that job were way higher than anything I ever had after that. And I've worked for some places that had pretty high expectations, but maybe it was just also because everything was so new to me at the time that I was just like, how do they expect me to know all this stuff? But and I was 18. So like at 18, they're asking me, you need to know like the last 4 vintages of Jordan Cabernet and their scores because I think that like the 97 Jordan, it got like a 99 or something like that. Like it got a huge score, but they're like, but you also need to know that the 96 got a 94 and that the 98 or like they needed us to know so that we could upsell the 97,
Sure.
Gosh, 97 was such a big year. Like that was
All over.
Everybody talked about the 97.
Yeah.
Now it's so long ago that no one talks about 97s anymore because we're all old.
They're
All the
probably
wine's been consumed.
Most of them are drank or in some rich person's cellar.
And they'll find them in 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll still be good. They're probably still in some Michelin star restaurants. Maybe the Farrington House has some, or Umstead.
Umstead, yeah.
Can we let's change subjects, and I might have to cut this because you might not want to talk about this yet because this was just happening in loose conversation. But we were talking to one Maggie Kane,
Yes.
who is notable for in this area doing a pay what you can cafe, which is really cool and exciting. And you started bringing up something that you're doing.
Yeah, so with my winnings from Supermarket Stakeout, I am starting a community fridge program in Chatham. My first fridge is being delivered on either Wednesday or Thursday, so it'll be stocked by next week.
So wait, it's a fridge.
So yes.
So tell us what this means.
Yeah, what is a community fridge program?
Think lending library, but for food. So in Chatham County, 1 in 6 are hungry or food insecure. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I learned about it last year at the Dames conference.
The
Dames
Dames
de
de
Scoffier.
Yes.
I learned about it.
We should say what that is because that
Okay,
maybe
so it's a
philanthropic.
Philanthropic.
The hardest word to say.
Yes.
Organization of women in the culinary, wine, food world. So it's international.
Yeah.
And you have to be either invited or you apply to belong. And we have a chapter here in North Carolina. I think it's like maybe 5 years old.
Yeah. My wife
was one of the original members.
Yeah. I guess you kind of have to keep it up to continually be a member of
we'll get her back.
the DOMS, but yeah, it kind of like ebbs and flows as far as the participation and all. But it's had like Vivian Howard's been a part of it. I think Katie Button's been there. I think Carla Hall actually might have been
Carla
a
Hall
DOM.
is, I think, still Tanya Harding or Holland.
Tanya Harding.
I've been worried about my knees on that one.
They're already bad enough.
Yeah. But it's great. It is a great like promotion. It's an organization that does philanthropic work. And so so now we're up to speed. So you're a DOM.
I was at the conference last year, and this woman I sat next to, and she runs a food fridge program in Des Moines, Iowa. So I started talking to her about it, and she's like, yeah, it's really easy. She sent me all this, like, paper stuff to, like, figure out how to do it. So I was like, okay. So I came home, and I was like, hey, Susan, I want to do this. She's like, okay. Like, I always want to do something.
Yeah.
So, we talked about it, and we kept talking about it, and I thought it was going to be really easy. I thought I'll buy a fridge, stick a thing on it, and go. So now we're almost about a year later, and so it's to fight food waste in restaurants because at the end of the day there's always so much stuff left over. Catering companies always have a lot of food left over, and where does it go? It goes in the garbage or goes home with staff, and then it sits in their fridge. So I'm gonna hit up like restaurants, the grocery stores that always have things left over, and so you put it in the fridge. Anybody can go, doesn't matter who you are, and then it'll be filled with pre-made foods that either I have or anybody else has, soups and things like that. And then also farmers can drop off produce. The grocery stores could drop off bread. They could drop anything, and it goes into this fridge. And then anybody at any time, they're open 24 hours, you could go. So, you don't have food for the night.
So the fridge lives inside of...
The fridge, they all are 24-hour access.
Okay.
So the first one's going to be in Cellar City outside of an antique store.
Okay.
Because they have the most need for one. And then my second one will probably go outside of Cora in Chatham County and Pittsboro.
Okay.
Because it just makes sense being at a food shelter.
Sure.
Fridge.
What's the size of this? Just so like
they're
I
just
can
regular
kind of
old
see
fridges.
Like,
so I went to Lowe's last night, bought a fridge.
Oh.
So it's just like the one at your house.
So you just plug it into the
Plug
power
it in. I have a decal that says well-fed fridges, which is a ode to a turn of, like, in the beginning of the 1900s, a restaurant in Cellar that was world-renowned, known for their rabbit dinners.
Wait, say it again. It's called what?
Well-fed fridges.
Well-fed fridges.
Yep.
It's like rubber baby buggy bumpers, well-fed fridges.
But it was in Cellar in, like, the early 1900s, and they were renowned for their rabbit dinners.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that Baby Bobby's Bible bumpers. What is it? Righteous Gemstones. But like, okay, so there's no like regulation. There's no like locks on the doors.
No
there's
locks
no
on the
swiping
doors.
but it is is it a pay what you can?
Nope, it's free
not. It's just
to
free.
anybody.
It's just a straight up refrigerator in the middle of town.
Just like think of those lending libraries.
Yeah.
You see them all over those little bookcases. Same idea. So let's say you are over at, the grocery store, and it's buy 2, get 7 free of bags of apples.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like it's always something weird like that.
Yeah.
You don't want 9 bags of apples, right? But you're
No.
like, well, I'm going to get them, and I'm going to send Sarah a text and be like, hey, I got like a ton of apples. Do you want them? Yeah, I'll put them in the fridge.
Yeah. So who's responsible for maintaining them?
So I'm going to base it on a volunteer basis. So I have a lot of people who've already said, hey, I want to volunteer. I want to run food. I want to do it. But, at the beginning, it's going to be me. We already know that.
Yeah.
But as time goes on, the community that the fridge is at usually takes really good care. They're proud of this said fridge.
Yeah.
Like I've had somebody say that they had a group of kids that live in the area, like, hey, can we paint the fridge?
Mm.
One
the
could be
community-
sponsored by, NC F&B, and you could have the logo on it and stuff like that. Like, it just,
That sounds awesome.
yeah.
And like a utopia, but obviously I always think of like the worst common denominator. It's like some a-hole like opens it up and just like steals all the
Spills.
food
And
or
some,
whatever.
yeah,
But-
somebody
Or
be
even
just a
worse,
jackass
like
and do it.
spills gravy over everything else, and it just ruins the fridge, and it ruins all the other food. I mean, yeah, I'm sure those things are
it's
going to
gonna
happen. Yeah.
but
yeah.
you're
But
hoping on the goodness of humanity.
I think
which-
that actually more of this needs to happen
Yeah.
in this sense of like for why I just said what I said is we can never do anything because we can't trust that society will allow it to happen. What is it? Like I think in Portland they have like the little orange flags at crosswalks to where like have you ever seen these? It's like they're like in little containers, little cubby holes on like busy areas, and you take the little flag. It's a little orange flag that kind of like lets people know like, hey, I'm crossing here, and you just do it. And it's a lot because there's like a lot of children in the area, so like little kids can get it.
Yeah.
It's for that. And then you just when you walk across, you just put it on the other side of the street. And there's multiples on both sides, so they kind of like go back and forth. But the joke is, I think like they wanted to do that in LA, and like first day somebody got beat with one of them.
Ugh.
Like someone just smacked someone in the head with one. And it's like, this is why we can't have nice things, folks.
Right.
But it's like, Portland, maybe in this particular spot, like there was a little civility,
it's
and
like
a little
Carrboro.
care about. Yeah. So you are starting it in certain parts of a community that maybe don't think about how I can ruin someone else's life
Yes.
with this nice thing that someone did to start. Right.
Yeah. You never know.
Yeah.
Like I've had so many people go, are you going to lock it? Do they have some sort of like code? And I was
Right,
like,
yeah.
no, I'm betting on the goodness of people versus the badness of people.
You
We're
really
going to play
are.
this over the news story that goes out.
I'm betting on the goodness of people. I'm betting
Local
on the goodness of
fridge.
I'm betting on the goodness of people as somebody's like bashing the fridge.
15 people were assaulted by a refrigerator in Carrboro.
Smashed over, yeah.
Betting on the goodness of people.
Oh, so sorry.
We're
Haters, but we love it. I
do
mean, I
love
love that you're doing this because it needs to have this. And clearly, like, you're not just do it. Like that's the thing is getting back to like your disposition. You're just like a nice, kind person. And
Yeah.
you seem like you're not in this for anything other than the fact that you like to do nice, kind things. And I guess if it comes from that soul, and that comes from that intention, that hopefully that will be what keeps it going that way.
Well, so I'm a chef, right? Like, why do I only cook for people who can afford it?
Yeah.
Like, I should be able to cook for anybody. Like, you can't afford it? Like, but here's a really good dish. Like, it's not your store-bought mac and cheese or, ramen noodle. I might put ramen in there, but it's going to be real ramen.
Yeah.
Like, I just feel like we live in this country that it's supposed to be so great that we're so hateful to everybody.
Yeah, because we've all got so cynical.
Yeah.
Because like in an ideal world, right? I mean, why couldn't I theoretically put my wine samples at the end of the week in the community fridge, right? And people could have wine, but you know
What
that
could go
would
wrong?
get
Would be,
abused.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, what could go wrong
Well,
there?
when you go and put your wine sample, just let me know and I'll meet you there.
Okay. I could just drop them off at your place and you could share them as you like.
But also, like I'm also on a board for Quiltmaker Cafe, which is also a pay what you can restaurant that we're trying to open.
That's
in
what I
Pittsboro.
thought you were getting
Yes,
at.
yeah.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I have 2 food insecure things going on at once.
Cool. So we'll get into that a little bit. So much like a place at the table, but
Exactly like Place at the Table, but a different concept. The founder Jenny and her family, it's really a lot to them. Like it means a lot to them. They've really worked hard on it. So there's a few of us. Bill is one of them from Postal.
Yep.
Is on the board, and
Bill Hartley, chef owner at Postal Fish Company.
yeah, good dude.
good dude. So we're really trying to get this in Pittsboro, but like Pittsboro has a lot of issues. We don't have water. We don't have the sewer capacity to open restaurants. So you have to wait for one to close, or the sewer capacity has to get bigger.
Oh wow.
So it's been hard, and it's also we want it to be in a space that is accessible to everybody versus like all the way up by me by Chatham Parks is not always accessible to the people who live downtown that are in need of it. So we've been working on this maybe a year and a half now. We find places and then something happens, but we do a lot of things. Like we do a fundraiser in October. We're always at First Sunday, handing out food. So we're always giving food back to the community. It's just we need a spot.
It's so funny because you hear about Pittsboro and you hear about, of course, the wealthier people building beautiful homes there because it's 15 minutes from Chapel Hill and like arguably 30, depending where you are, less than 30 at some point, close to Raleigh. So it's kind of like really centrally located and it's got a cool historic downtown area. But like many places, like where I live in Holly Springs, kind of the same deal. There's a lot of rural areas,
Yes.
But that's surprising to me to hear that there's a water issue, especially with all the building that's happening in Pittsboro.
Yeah.
But that's all happening now, and there was no infrastructure built to like
Exactly.
build up to.
I know,
a
but you would
larger...
think you would make the infrastructure before all the builders come and then start building housing.
All right, but it's because the developers just bought this land and they're like, cool, we can make 1,000 condos right here or whatever. They want the city to do all that stuff and pay for those things. And the city's like, well, we didn't ask you to buy all this land up and do all this stuff.
But doesn't the city have to approve that stuff before it gets made?
Right. But then they're also like, well, you're going to
Benefit from all the taxpayers now coming in.
just like a
I mean,
restaurant.
they are working on it. Like
Yeah. But like
they're
a,
building
like
new
a,
things and
the things that like a lot of chefs and Sarah, you could probably speak to this too. But, if you're going to take over a spot, let's say, and you get a little TI, tenant improvement dollars, to upgrade it, like from the owner, the landlord of the building, and you're the new chef coming in to build the place, they'll give you a certain amount of dollars per square footage to like upfit the space.
Sure.
But you don't get that money until after it's done and like you're open. So you're putting it out of pocket. So these builders, in a very like generically comparable way, are probably trying to figure out those solutions, but they've got to front the money and do all those things up front to make sure that their new developments work. And then if it makes sense, then maybe the city will come in and like follow through on their promises and pay them back for all the infrastructure they've done. So that's why there's a lot of trepidation and like why they don't go forth and do like all the things that you would think the city should do. It's like the city's like, yeah, we don't have the funding to do that right now. So like you build it and then we'll pay you back for it or we'll give you a break.
yeah, or tax breaks, or like we have VinFast coming and
That
Wolf
worries
Speed.
me though, because that's not all city. Now obviously Raleigh's a much bigger city, but I look at Holly Springs, which is on this unbelievable growth trajectory.
God.
And all those things have been planned in place from a long time before and have come from taxpayers' money. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That worries me about.
That'll be fine.
Okay.
Chatham Park's money.
We'll find. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll find
Chatham
water.
Park is
We'll
gonna
dig.
be-
They got
We'll
money.
dig. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was such a small town. It's like 3,500 in the town.
Yeah.
So it's tiny, and now it's going to grow to 60-some thousand people.
Well, and also, they just announced yesterday the new convention center, how they're expanding their convention center in Raleigh, which is like $387 million project.
Yeah.
So like that's got to be planned, but not only is that going to happen, but with Apple and Amazon coming, I mean, those high income housing, a lot of those people are going to go to Pittsboro because it's also centrally located, and you can also probably get land there. So
yeah, I mean,
pull up your britches, Pittsboro. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's time.
They just got to figure it out and like get out of their own way, I guess.
Yeah, when I was in Chicago for the National Restaurant Association, they had, like, I walked into this massive convention center, and I'm like, oh, this is big. This is a little bigger than the Raleigh downtown one. And then someone went, yeah, this is room 1.
Yeah.
And I went, what? And then there was another one just to the left that was equal size of the same thing. And then they went, yeah. And then you go take this little walk bridge over to the other street, and there's another one.
Right.
There were 3
insane.
bigger than our spots in, downtown Chicago.
So it's literally 3 times the size.
Yeah, and each one was bigger than one of ours.
Yeah.
And so it was crazy. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is what a big city looks like when it comes to things like that. So it makes sense. I mean, we are growing. Raleigh's trying to grow in the whole area of the Triangle. This is how that growth happens. But we do need to. It's why, like, if you're a nerd and you pay attention to, like, the boring parts of the politics, it's all about infrastructure and all about, like, how are we going to get there? And no one wants to talk about those things. It's like the lamest part to think of, but it's like, no, you need to have enough roads to get here. You need to have enough toilets and sewers so that people can poop without it falling, going up the side of the road. Yeah, that's the fun part of development.
Yeah,
you don't think about it.
No, but I like how you're thinking though. Like you really are. Like it's a near and dear to your heart to feed the hungry or the.
We
the
never
food
know
insecure.
if it could be one of us. Like
Yeah.
at any given time, you could lose your job, you could lose everything, and then you might not know where your next meal is. So I just feel like it's a necessity in this country.
Yeah.
We appreciate what you're doing. And it's cool that, like, if everybody did, like, the thing that they're good at, their skill, that they could, like, offer it up for free in some way, like, just as, like, a tithing, like, it doesn't have to be
community service.
Yeah, it's something, like, then, this place would probably be a whole lot friendlier, and we'd walk around like Sera Cuni all the time, smiling.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
I'd much prefer that than, all sourpuss over
Heck
here.
yeah. Well, just tell Rita to stop calling you at 11:30. And
Yeah.
Tell her
So you
to
get
call you
your
at
full hours.
8:30.
Yeah. Thanks, Mom.
Or just start calling her earlier.
Oh,
Call
by
her
the
when
way.
you wake up in the morning.
Oh, that's, by the way, getting back to that, my mom, her entire life that I knew her, my entire life knowing my mom, she worked for Lockheed, right? Like the missiles and space company, and it was a government job. She had to be there at 5 a.m., so she always woke up at 4 a.m. That's why little old me had to make my own lunch, and I had to walk myself to school at kindergarten, like literally
No wonder
kindergarten.
he's so cynical.
Exactly.
Like independent boy, latchkey
Latchkey.
kid, yep, all that stuff. But I now call my mom thinking, like, I know Rita, maybe she's not getting up at 4 anymore, but she's probably getting up at 7, like that's a reasonable hour, especially for an old lady. Like what is it with old people always getting up really early?
Yeah.
Like I bet
they go to sleep early.
Ed is waking up at
my
4
parents.
in the morning, right?
No. My parents, I think, like they sleep in.
They sleep in. Well, that's what my mom is.
Yeah.
My mom says that she stays up watching TV until sometimes 2 in the morning, and then doesn't wake up until like 11 or noon.
That's what I want to do.
Yeah, and I was like, well, you are retired, so I guess
Wow.
sure, why
she's
not?
Retired, yeah.
So I've done the opposite to her. I've called her, but like not crazy early. I've called her noon our time, 8 or 9 her time, and she's still asleep. And she's like, Mom? I'm like, Mom, what do
Why
you
still
do?
asleep? It's 9 a.m.
Yeah, like wake your ass up.
It's like I've been watching TV.
Yeah, and it's always the same shit. It's I Love Lucy and Lawrence Welk, and Perry Mason. My mom still lives like it's 1961.
That's hilarious.
But anyhow, well, Sera, thank you for coming out here, chewing the fat. Like, I don't know if the listeners can tell, but we know you. Like, we know you as a friend, and you've been in this community for a long time. It's kind of silly. I think you've been on the show, but only at like a Terra Vita. Like we just like bombarded you, didn't really ask your permission. We just put a microphone in your face and said, "Speak, start talking about what you do." That's usually how we roll when we go out to events.
See, that's why I'm so easygoing.
Yeah. By the way, we'll be at a Chow Chow in Asheville coming up first week of September. So if you're one of those chefs, get ready. Microphone's coming in your face. But we appreciate it. We appreciate appreciate that you're just a great community leader in this area, that you're a friend, you're an easy person to talk to, and by the way, you make awesome, delicious food. So I have nothing but high praise to give to you and appreciation for you in this community.
Thank you.
Thanks for what you do, and let us know how we can help with Quilt Maker Cafe and the community fridge. Those sound like awesome things. And until then, for all of you out there, go to Root Cellar Cafe or Cafe Root Cellar, which is in Pittsboro. You will eat and drink extremely merrily.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.